Yeah, that's kind of how I roll. So we're going to broadcast right now, and I'd like to do a sound check, and then I'll do an introduction, and then we'll get started. So,
yep.
All right, people, who's my first person on can tell me that you can hear me. Okay. Hi, Beverly and Joan and Kevin and Michelle. Hey guys. So if somebody will put in the chat that we've got sound and we're all good. Hi, Solange and Robin. It'll be fantastic. Awesome. Thank you so much for letting me know. So today we are speaking with Stephanie, and tell me if I say this wrong. Is it Dodier?
Perfect.
Stephanie Dodier is a clinical nutritionist, founder of the Going Beyond the Food Academy, and host of the podcast, Going Beyond the Food Show. Stephanie is dedicated to helping women make peace with food and their body. Amen to that. Today is going to be fun because how many of us have no peace with that area, right? And work with people with no peace in that area. So I want you to start out with your story. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got here? And questions in the Q&A box only, you guys, not the chat, please. Go ahead.
So I'm going to give you the short version of it.
Okay.
Grew up in a normal family, began consuming food as a way of numbing my pain because of loneliness at the age of 9. And at the age of 12, I was on my first diet at Weight Watcher.
Oh my gosh.
Fast forward 25 years, I was in the corporate world leading a very successful career, had everything the world wanted to have, but I collapsed on stage, was rushed to the hospital, and was diagnosed with severe panic attack and a whole bunch of chronic condition like pre-diabetic, high cholesterol, inflammation, depression, and was given a script with 3 different medication and was sent on my way and said, come back and see me in 2 weeks. And something happened in the hallway, leaving the doctor's office. I looked at that script and I said, if I start these, I'll never stop. And I'm 36. So I crumbled the script, threw it out in the garbage can in the hallway and said, well, we'll see what happened. We have to find another solution. And that propelled me into the world of natural health, trying to heal myself. And I found this whole world of nutrition, functional medicine, which resolved all of my chronic condition. And then I quit my corporate career and went back to school. Did a degree in nutrition and opened a clinic in Toronto, Canada, and started the typical 101 patient rolling into the office, one behind the other, providing meal plan and supplements and protocol. And what I noticed is that women particularly were struggling with consistency, with adherence to protocol. And in the background of all of this, I was having issue with my own relationship to food, and I was starting to binge, and I had a lot of body image issue. Being a nutritionist and not being thin was very difficult. And I realized that there was more than just food and supplement and protocol. The whole combination of our thoughts and our emotion had a huge influence on our ability to make the right choice for our health. And that sent me into the world of going beyond the food. And I trained and I educated myself, and I started this approach and stopped counseling people on food. And here I am.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So we have to go, let's go back. And I want to talk about that. Yes. I want to talk about what you just said about when you started your story. You said you were on Weight Watchers when you were 12. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So I want to start there because I feel like that so many people don't go back far enough to where the original problem may have come from. We start with where someone is now, and it's fine to start there if we're trying to help them, but we need to know, where did the problem come from? So how did this start for you? Do you know? Like,
so for me, yeah, I know exactly. So my family bought a new house. We moved from one end of town to the other. And in this new suburb, there was no kids. We were the one house in the brand new suburb, and I was alone. And this feeling of loneliness built up, and then I started baking and cooking, and then started to use food. And I'm assuming back in the days it made me feel better, and I more and more and more, and I gained weight. I mean, you eat, you gain weight, right? When you eat too much, it's just an equation that's very simple.
Okay. What was the support from your mom like, and your mom and dad? Were they supportive of you? Did they start to pick on you? Did they amplify the problem?
So my mom was a typical baby boomer, raised in the 50s and the 60s, and then leached in the 70s with low-fat dieting, aerobic culture. which most of our mother of my generation and yours have been. So without knowing, I mean, we were doing the cabbage soup diet at 12 together.
Oh my gosh, if I ever see that cabbage soup again, I don't know what I'll do.
But she wasn't doing it from a place of, I'm going to harm her.
Right.
She was doing it because that's all she knew. We only know what we know.
That's right.
And that's part of my goal of being here today, is that what I now know, when I went to school, nobody told me about these things.
Right.
Because we were so focused on food and supplements that we didn't see beyond that. So so that's the originating story of the food relationship for me.
Okay, so let's go into a conversation about, I hear this all the time with health coaches, and this is I think you've got something really, you're going to have something profound to help us with here, because health coaches feel like they have to be perfectly healthy, perfectly thin, perfectly this and that and everything to be able to help people with their health. And I say impossible, of course. We just had a class on perfectionism that was beyond any class we've had before. It was amazing. But the thing is how did you not feel like you were presenting yourself as a fraud? You see what I'm saying? Like, we hear that word a lot in the health coaching industry. I'm such a fraud. I'm overeating, or I have a thyroid problem. I can't get myself well. So how did you overcome that feeling?
So for me, it was a personal journey. So what I quickly realized in this field of health is that you can only help people as far as you helped yourself. So you cannot teach from a place of theory in your head. You actually have to have experience it. So for me, I had body image issue and I needed to heal myself. So I went into this path of the world of mindfulness, which was a world of acceptance and compassion. And those two notions were completely radical for me, because coming from the corporate world and the traditional model of nutrition and functional medicine, which is like hardcore, right? 100% all the time.
Yes.
You have to be, like, they don't say you have to be perfect. We say to the patient, you have to be 100% gluten-free or 100% dairy-free, which drives perfectionism. So I'm not going to go down this path because your team is up to date on that. But then that compound the effect on you and your body image. So I had to learn the skills of self-acceptance and the skill of compassion with me and around my own journey in my own body. Does this mean that when I walk, so we're part of the same group called Mindshare, does that mean when I walk into a room of 1,000 of the leading experts in health, which are 95% thin, do I feel 100% confidence? No. But I know that I have a deeper meaning in life than just thinness. My meaning in life is to help other women that are where I was to move forward towards healthier behavior by healing the relationship to food and body. So my mission and my purpose drives my confidence when it's shaken up.
I love it. And I love that you just said that too about Mindshare, because I do educate my coaches and my people about what I do every year. And I'll never forget the first year that I went to Mindshare. It was like casual attire was kind of the description. And let me tell you, I walk in, that person who, I don't really know how to dress. I've never done my nails. I'm not a fancy girl. I remember the feeling of walking in with those. And at the time, I think there's only 375. It's grown significantly over the years. Walking in and thinking, I am so underdressed. Everyone's going to be looking at me. I don't fit in here. But you know what and I had laryngitis. But you know what I said? I'm here for a reason. I have something big, and I know that I can learn from these people. So that gave me the confidence to talk to everybody I wanted to talk to. So I love that you used that, because you have to pull that confidence from somewhere, right?
Absolutely. That confidence comes from your intention. So if I can talk about intention for a minute, about how we can coach people with their eating behavior. One of the biggest elements where you can help your client is setting intentions. Instead of setting up rules about what they should do, what is the intention behind their choice? Is it an intention of, I need to fix myself because I'm broken, because I'm effed up, and I need structure and I cannot trust myself?
Yes. Or
is it the intention of, you know what, I want to be a better version of myself. I accept where I am. I'm compassionate with myself, but I need to move forward. That is a love-based intention.
Yes.
versus rules, which is fear-based. And when you set your clients in a coaching approach that is fear-based, you're triggering their nervous system. You're triggering their fear, fight, or flight. And now we can get into a rabbit hole of how the nervous system engage with eating habit. But let me just say this. If your client has learned like me when they were young to deal with negative emotion like loneliness with food, it's an imprint in their nervous system.
Yes.
There's a whole field of study called somatic. I don't know if you study that in your curriculum.
Oh, yeah. I don't study it in the curriculum, but I know all about it, and it's one of the resources. Yes, somatic sensory, yes.
Right? Totally. So when you wire your nervous system to respond to uncomfortable emotion with food, you carry that forward. Yes. And this is where our client become inconsistent.
Yes.
It's not because they want to be rebel and they don't want to do what you're telling them. It's because that's how they've learned to cope with life.
Yes.
They're using food, or they're using any other self-destructing behavior to cope. So I don't know where we started, but
that's okay. Let's just keep going. Yeah. So how do we change the wiring of our brain? I mean, we're neuroplastic. Our brains are neuroplastic. So, beyond, I do neurofeedback for neuroplasticity. What else can we do if we don't have the money to do something like that, or the resources? So
one of the things that I would encourage all of you to bring into your practice is mindfulness. And that is zero. It may cost you a few $100s to you get trained, but as far as your client tool is $0. So for me, the number one thing I teach is breathing. And that's where I started. Back 7 years ago, I started to learn how to breathe, because when we practice deep breathing, for an example, we literally within 5 to 10 seconds shift the nervous system from fight or flight to rest and digest.
Yes.
Craving, desire to binge, desire to overeat, shaming thoughts about your body only happens when your nervous system is engaged into this fight or flight mechanism.
Yes.
So the first thing you can do is teach your client when the thoughts start. I call it the cue, the craving. I call it the food freedom, the crave cure formula is to engage into breathing. Like close your eyes, very simply, teach that to your client and start breathing in and out by the nose. 1 minute. And that will shift the nervous system into this rest and digest. And then from there, they can make a decision that is not engaging self-defense mechanism, like making me feel better, but it's instead a place of consciousness, a place of making a decision for the best of yourself. And here's what happened. Often, 80% of the craving goes after just 1 to 2 minutes of deep breathing. Because we shifted the nervous system.
Right. So almost like, when we're in that feeling, it's almost like an alcoholic that needs a drink.
Yes.
So they've got to get that drink, and then only then that's the only thing that's going to save them, because they're in fight or flight. Same thing with food. So if I eat that, it's going to save me, because you think you're in a dire situation. Is that right?
Absolutely.
So if we breathe through it, we lose that feeling like we're going to die if we don't drink, eat, smoke, or shop. In this case, eat. And it pushes us into, I didn't die. Now what kind of a decision can I make right now?
From a place of love. So coming back to the intention setting. So teach your client the intention. Set the intention with them in their first appointment. That's what I used to do in the first appointment. Let's set the intention. And then from that place of calm, they can say, okay, what is the best behavior, the best choices towards loving myself? And in some cases, it may be to have the food. Like I always coach the client, like you just learned that your mom is dying. You know what? Go for the chocolate, because this is like the extreme emotion level you can get to.
Yes.
But when it's simply an email from your boss, do you really need that piece of food, right?
Right. Yes. Oh, I love that. It's permission. It's permission to not be, because what does it do to you or to our clients or to ourselves, if we shame and guilt ourselves for making a decision based on a very big traumatic experience or something we're going through? That's Absolutely. Huge. The small things you take baby steps with those, more manageable steps. And then the bigger things we can handle later on, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is how the Going to Beyond the Food method was born, is by understanding what drives the behavior of eating, right? So The conventional model is the eating behaviors at the top of the chain, and then we apply rules, diets, whatever, to control the behavior.
Right.
Temporary approach that uses willpower, right? And willpower, neuroscience has taught us, limited resource.
Of course.
Different from each individual, but they will have to resort to willpower when you take a top-down approach.
Yes. Yes.
Going beyond the food is saying, I took my functional training and I applied it to how we deal with food and said, what drives the behavior? How can I get to the root with people?
Right.
So below the eating behavior, the first layer that drives it is emotion and thoughts. Your thoughts derive your emotion then engage your nervous system, and then you get into this whole controlling fight or flight with food. So there's your thoughts. The next deeper layer is your mindset. So, and this is a blend of emotional body and spiritual body, but it says, like, how do I perceive the world? What is my intention in this world? So my intention is because I believe I'm broken and I need severe structures and rule to control myself because I can't be controlled. Like, I'm just so broken. It's your mindset. And that will derive your emotion and your thoughts.
Yes. Yes. And then this makes it all worse.
Yeah, well, and it drives even more negative emotion and thoughts. So if your mindset and your perspective on life is completely negative, then there's no point of trying to apply behavior at the top and control. It's not going to work for a long time. Then below all of that is what I call your story. And that's where the whole world of somatic sits in, is which how the event happened in your life will engage different perspective and engage different thoughts and emotion.
Right.
So your story in the functional approach is critical. So if you have a client in front of you and you don't do a diet history like me, and you don't know that at 9 she was eating because she was lonely or she had her first diet at 12, you may give her direction or protocol that can be extremely harmful mentally and emotionally for this person.
Yes. Yes.
So anyone that comes and see you with the word attach weight loss in your first intake and their goals, like, red flag should go up.
Yes, I agree.
Do a completely different intake and ask this whole history of dieting and weight loss and body image, because you as a coach can have tremendous impact in actually triggering this person into further damaging their relationship to food.
Oh, I love this. I love it. You know, we have a 26-page intake form at the Institute for Functional Health Coaching. And one of the questions, well, many of the questions we go really deep in, is one of them is, is there anyone that's sabotaging you? Is it yourself? Another one of the questions is about trauma, and it is about, how were you raised to think about food? Were you told to clean your plate? That kind of thing, right? This is so in line with what I believe. And I also say, I do a whole training on weight loss, and that it's not about the weight.
No.
Never. It's never about the weight. It's just 1 week on training. I can't even imagine how thorough your stuff is, because I couldn't even begin to touch the surface except to say, forget about the weight loss. Let's get to the bottom of the problem, and the weight loss will follow. Right? Essential.
So are you familiar with Health at Every Size?
No.
Okay, so that's something people may want to start reading. There's a book, it's the Bible, it's the fundamental of going beyond the food, but pretty much it's a movement of peace around our body and food. And it looks at the science of weight loss and dieting, and literally come to the realization that weight does not equal health. Right? You can have people like me that are considered, quote, obese, and I'm 95% healthier than most people.
Yeah.
My weight does not determine my health. So that is a huge paradigm that as a practitioner, you need to get over. You need to get yourself over and judging people with their body and their frame of how they engage with health. Because you could be very surprised that people are actually very healthy, and it has nothing to do with weight. So their desire to lose weight is really not what they're seeking. They're seeking something else.
I agree. And I'll say, the first time I ever walked into a CrossFit gym, I looked around and I thought, there are so many women here that are heavier, bigger bone and whatnot. I felt like you could snap me like a twig around them. They were so powerful and strong and healthy. It was amazing. It shifted my perspective completely about what health really looked like, right? People are asking about the book.
It's health at every size.
Every size. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So if somebody can Google that, they could grab the link and tuck it in there. That would be fantastic. So yeah, this is so good. This is so good. Okay. So can you outline a little bit about how do you talk to people when they walk into your office and they say, I'm here for weight loss, or whatever they do when they have before? How do you phrase what you just said? Because if you say to someone who wants to lose weight, don't worry about the weight, we'll get there, they're going to be like, well, okay, because that's why I'm here. So how can we phrase that? Can you give us some language to use around making sure people understand we see their concern, but we got to come at it from a different way?
So one of the things that I learned when I used to be in a clinic setting is never to tell people what they should think. You have to lead them to get to your point.
Yeah.
And one of the most effective way to do that is when I was charting, I would chart their physical health. I would take a piece of paper, cut it in half, physical health, and then their emotional event in their life. And then when I knew they wanted weight loss, I would talk about their weight. So how was your weight when you were a teen? And I would literally chart all of their weight along their life. And then on the other side, I would start asking them about their emotion. And then you would see a correlation, right? You would see their weight gain because something has happened and something has happened. Or I was on this diet and then a year later, I gained all the weight back. And then I would highlight that, and then they would come up to their own conclusion. And most 90% of people would say, holy S, I didn't realize that every time I went on a diet, a year or two later, I would gain back more of the same weight.
Yes.
I didn't realize when my husband divorced me that a year later, I was on the next diet to lose the 50 pounds I had gained the year prior.
Yeah.
So that's how I engage the communication, and don't say it to them when they walk in, because diet culture got to them, in their mind, this is what it is. Get them to the place where you want them to them. And this charting was the best way to get them there for me.
I love that. And I know you say that you go beyond the macros and the micros. It's a really big deal right now in CrossFit, in that community. Everybody talks about your macros and your micros. And I have literally watched over the last probably year and a half, women start this macro and micro thing because they want the six pack, they want to be thin, they want to be lean. And then I've watched them slowly put the weight and then more back on because they were doing it for the wrong reason. They were trying to lose the weight for the wrong reason. Yeah.
So I want to talk about one piece here about body confidence and body acceptance and body image, because again, body positivity, all the same world. So many of you are probably seeing that on your Instagram feed, right? Body positivity. It's really becoming more and more a political issue, which is great. But behind that is the whole concept of how do we accept our body and what influence does it have on our health behavior?
Yes.
So there is a lot of research behind that. So there's a study that was published in 2013 by the Journal of Obesity, and they looked at the actual weight of the person in their BMI scale and say, does the weight have an impact on their health choices? The result was no, the actual weight. So you could have a high BMI individual, and that would not, because they were high BMI, have negative choices towards their health. What they realize is that the way people perceive themselves, their body image, negative or positive, had a direct correlation to their ability to make the choice for their health. People who felt confident, people who accepted their body, no matter what the weight was, had a higher correlation of healthy choices. People who had a negative body image, thin or obese, had a higher incidence of making unhealthy choices.
Wow.
That's our goal as health coaches, right? Is to get them to the place of making healthy choices.
Yes. Yeah. So how do we do that? How do we get people to accept themselves? It's the question of the year of the lifetime.
So we have a tool called body neutrality. So there's the world of body shaming, and then there is the world of body positivity, right? So body shaming is where people that don't accept their body which is have negative thoughts about their body, judging themselves and attaching worth to the way that they look. Then there's the world of body positivity, which right now is really rock and roll, in which there's a lot of very big body being prominently put out. And that has a role. The role of that is a political issue that wants to help break this whole thinness model. We're not saying get fat. That's not what I'm saying. We're saying accept people no matter what body they have. Yes. And then there's the clinical work of saying, people are shaming. Am I going to teach them to throw themselves in a bikini out there in the street? No, that's not a clinical approach. Neutrality is the middle. Neutrality is what we teach, body neutrality, which says accept what is and be compassionate for it. So the two, how do we get people to do that? First, we have to educate ourselves. That's the first thing. Yeah. So educate yourself on what does it mean to be neutral with your body, on body acceptance, A. Two, teach the component of self-acceptance, which says your body got to this place, whatever that looks, because it was trying to make you survive, right? So back to people like me who use food to feel better, I ate the sugar because I didn't feel safe. Mm-hmm. So my body put on weight because I wasn't safe. So my body got to this place, not because it's broken, because it's trying to survive.
Yes. Yes.
So accept what is and find a place of gratefulness. Another example, most people that come in for weight loss that are women, they're usually typically post-pregnancy and they want to lose belly fat. Right? Think about that for a minute.
I remember.
Right? But think about this for a minute, from a concept of acceptance and compassion. That body belly fat, that part of your body created life.
Yeah.
It gave life. It created this human that now walks around you, and you are shaming that part of your body.
Yeah.
Profound, right?
Oh, it's crazy. I know. I used to say, a person came out of there. Give me a break.
Voila. And you know what? It's a fact of life. So can we shift people from thinking about their, like, I have large thigh filled with cellulite. But you know what? I can squat more than 99% of women. There's a reason for that. Right?
Yeah.
So how can we shift people to a place of gratefulness for their body and realize that their body got there trying to protect them? And then the whole world of compassion is another big skill set. And the world of compassion is the first is to be kind towards your body with gratefulness and recognize that you're human. Mm-hmm. So here's a reality for people to understand is only 2% of the population looks like the model used in publicity and marketing. Yet, we make that what we want to be. The truth is, most of us will never get there, nor are we designed to get there.
Totally.
So there's a whole cultural background to this. The other thing that really helped is understanding that what a woman would look like 150 years ago versus what a woman is supposed to look like today is two worlds.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So understand that the culture your client comes from, the environment into which that they live, just think about the Black culture versus the white culture. I may be totally politically incorrect here, but I'm going to go there anyway.
Go for it.
Women are typically more recognized for being curvier in this culture versus the white culture. Mm-hmm. Same body. Why? Why do we push ourselves to go to a place that is unsustainable? Right? So compassion brings that element of humanization, which is essential in accepting our body. Yeah. So to the question, how can we do that? First, do it with yourself. Second, self-acceptance, self-compassion, and roll that up into the concept of body neutrality.
Yeah. And you know what? I have to say this too. And, you know, I'm pretty open book, transparent, vulnerable, working on that vulnerability part and sharing with the world because I think it's important that we do that. And I remember thinking that I was fat. And my child was 2 years old, I think, or 3. I don't remember how old. First trip to the beach. I was like, I'm going to the beach. I don't know anybody. I'm going to wear a bikini and I don't care if I look this. Do you know that when I saw that picture, this is 5 years ago now, this happened almost 10 years ago. I saw the picture 5 years ago, and all I could think about was, if I didn't know that was me, I would feed that girl. I was so thin. Unbelievable. And, you know, I've worked on myself a lot too. I still have hangups, but I think that that's what happens to us and to our clients, is that we don't really even see ourselves as we truly are. How do you help someone see the reality of themselves? And I know not everyone, I don't have body dysmorphia. Not everybody does, but I think that our minds go into a totally different world when we see ourselves. How do we bring reality into this?
So reality is brought into this by connecting to our body, literally to our body messages, interoception in the world of somatic, right? Connecting to our body. So one exercise that I used to do in clinic is I used to have a mirror, like a held hand mirror.
Yeah.
And I would ask my client to look at themselves in the mirror and say to themselves, I love myself. One out of two clients could not even do it. They would break in tear before. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. That told me a quack load about their relationship. They couldn't even look at themselves. So this is the reality. 50% of women, particularly, that's my field of work, don't even have a relationship with themselves physically. They can't even look at themselves. Yes. So how can they even connect to their emotion, to their symptoms? We got to work on this before we actually tell you, tell me your symptom of eating a certain food. I'm going to do an elimination diet. They don't even know what they feel.
No.
So mirror work is tremendously impactful for working on that. Here's my advice though. Be really, really, really careful, because don't throw someone in front of a full-length mirror in their bikini if they can't even look in their face. You're going to traumatize them.
Yes.
So do that quick little test in clinic. If you work with people via Zoom, do that and see their reaction. And then maybe that's all they do for 2 weeks, is look at themselves in the mirror from the face up. And then gradually build a relationship with their body.
Yeah, I agree with you. So 100%. And I think that's, Louise Hay, come on, she's the pioneer of loving yourself. Yeah. Love yourself, heal your life. That book right there, I got the workbook, I've got the book, I've got the updated book, I've got the short affirmations. And it's still hard for even me. And I know, right? I know. I will say this, you can get in the best shape of your life. You can look better than you've ever looked in your life. But if underneath there's something that you don't love about yourself, or that you're not accepting of yourself, it's going to show up somewhere. It's going to show up somewhere.
It's going to show up in a symptom of IBS, of migraine, of anxiety, of stress, of something.
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
So working on that is essential, and doing a quick test, like just with the mirror, is another huge help to give you a sense of where they are.
Yeah, totally agree. All right, so let's talk about intuitive eating.
Yes.
Tell us about that. What does that mean?
We're so aligned. That was the next point I wanted to talk about.
Yes, I do it, and I'm so thankful I learned how, but you tell everyone, how do they do this?
So intuitive eating means that you are in a respectful and trustful relationship with your body, and you are being guided by your body cues, what I call body messages, into choosing the food. So it's not about living off external rules and external guidance. It's about diving into your body to understand when you should eat, how much you should eat, and how you should eat it. So intuitive eating is a place where we are in full relationship with ourselves. And again, for people who don't have a relationship with themselves, intuitive eating is a foreign world.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So again, when you do your intake, you have to determine that, is the person coming from years of dieting where all she or he knows is external rule, and when they're left without rule, all hell break loose, right?
Right. Yeah.
So we got to build that relationship to the body, get them to get attuned to their body, and then engage. The first layer for me is mindful eating. So mindful eating is kind of a sub-family of intuitive eating, which says be present with your food. So stop listening to your phone, the TV, the newspaper, and when you eat for that 10 or 15 minutes, just the food and you.
Yeah.
Use your 5 senses, right? Your sight, your hearing, your taste, your smell, and engage with the food at those 5 layers. That then people to connect with their food, right? So we're past the layer of just eating automatically, standing up beside the counter or while driving a car. Do you know how many clients, when they come in, they're eating their lunch or their dinner in the car?
Been there.
Like, how can you get them to eat healthy when their full nervous system is like fighting the road and they're trying to eat? No wonder they're going to have the digestive issue, right?
They have no stomach acid. Well, they're lowering their stomach acid. How do you do that? I know. I remember I went through it. It was terrible.
and so then they're going to come in and say, I have IBS. Well, let's look at how you eat. Oh, you eat 2 out of 3 meals in your car?
Yeah.
Like while driving the kids. So get them to eat mindfully, and then get them to the place of respecting their body. Mm-hmm. So here's a bit of neuroscience, because all of my work is based on neuroscience. People that overeat, that binge, that can't control themselves have typically been restrictor their whole life. Meaning they've lived off diets and reducing calories or macros. There was something externally that was restricting them from eating what their body needed. Right. And then they became restrictor. That, ladies and gentlemen, engage your primal brain, your reptilian brain, your brainstem, that part of your brain at the back that control your safety. The function of the brainstem is attached to your nervous system, and it says, how can I be safe? And it scans your environment and says, oh, danger. We can't do this. Let's react with the nervous system to protect her from hurting herself. Mm-hmm. When we are in a state of restriction, living in today's environment, that food is plentiful, like the fridge is full, the pantry is full, yet we can't touch it. We can't access it. The primal brain is like, oh my God, we are in a state of famine. Like there's food, we can't have it. And then it builds up inside of you this desire to have the exact food you're restricting.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So back to our intention from the beginning, are you intending to restrict because you got to follow rules, which then trigger your primal brain, engage your nervous system, and gets you to binge on the thing you're not supposed to eat? Or are you doing it from a place of love? From a place of intuition that says, you know what, when I eat gluten, I get IBS. And I respect my body, and I don't want to create my body pain. So, you know what, probably not the best choice. Or I can eat it, but only half a toast. When I eat 2 toasts, like I threw myself over. So it's a place of experimenting from you wanting to respect your body. That is intuitive eating. And intuitive eating is essential for long-term success of your clients.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? Here's what I love. When you said that about not listening to the rules or whatever, so many people they put so many rules on themselves: keto, paleo, vegan, primal, whatever, whatever, low carb, water, air. I mean, whatever the heck people are putting. I'll say this. I've never been on a diet. Okay. I've never done the diet thing. But what I noticed is when I walk into my kitchen, I feel what my body's asking me for. So sometimes, out of the blue, it'll be like a gluten-free piece of toast with almond butter and a banana, and I hadn't had it in 6 months. And I'll be like, well, that's strange. Why is that coming in? I guess that's what I want. So that's what I'll have. But I do that. I walk in the kitchen and I feel what is it my body's asking me for in this moment. Even though I subscribe to a whole food plan, I don't say you can't have almond butter today because it's Tuesday and almonds are toxic on Tuesday. I mean, it's ridiculous.
But you know why people do this? And this is, again, science has proven that in the world of eating disorder, people attach their worth to the way that they eat. So if your worth is attached to your food choices, you will then become a rule perfection, because it tells the world how worthy you are. And these happen a lot in our world. We have to be honest with each other here.
Yep.
This is the world of health coaches and nutritionists and wellness influencer. We attach our worth to the way we eat. Danger, danger, like boop, 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 boop. Here's the truth. 70% of dietitian students in Australia, 70%, were either diagnosed with eating disorder or had the symptom of eating disorder. 70% in Australian student.
That is crazy.
We're no different in America.
No. No.
Right? So we have to really put ourselves in check to say, and I had that. That's why I went in the side of binging, because I even, like, people who followed me for a long time, I've wrote a book on keto. Like I went to the extreme because nothing else was working. So I had to get to the layer of more complicated because I was so broken. Like, I don't think you can get more restricted than keto or dairy-free vegan. Like, those two are like the extreme of the world. And I had to get to that point and realize that I wasn't broken, that I don't need to fix myself. So I don't need to live into this world. But most people that are in those worlds or request you to teach them about that attach their word to their food or to the thinness of their body.
Yes, they feel broken. They put a label on themselves. I'm broken, so fix it. Fix it with giving me rules on what I should and should not eat.
And then we have to be careful, because as social media people or influencer, we trigger that in our client. If we show up as this perfect thing, eating 100% all the time and saying to people they have to be 100%, we trigger them to be like that. And then we trigger them that at some point they're going to fall off the wagon.
Oh my gosh. We're like, what? What's happening today? Because I did that with my clients when I first started health coaching. And I remember thinking, I took all these pictures of all this paleo muffins and coconut this and that and kefir and all this, and I put it out to the world. And I shit you not, someone said to me, I would love to hire you, but I don't think I could live up to what you do. And I went, that is a problem. Because because on the other, I was eating that way, but I was also like not feeling happy. And all my time was spent cooking. And I was like, I'm miserable doing this. So I learned from that client that I was presenting something to people that wasn't real.
Absolutely. So get really in check with that.
Yeah, that was about 10 years ago. I've learned since then. Trust me, they know how broken I am.
Right? And get in check.
Yeah.
The influence you have on people by the way you lead and share your life. Yes. And if you're going to lead and share your life, share all of it. Yes. All of it.
Yeah.
Right? So we have a better reach when we can share who we are with all our brokenness and all our goodness than when we pretend to be perfect. Like the perfect Instagram feed, this is dying. This is not what's going to help you help people.
No, and they're not going to find you. And it's like you were in my class just about and I'm telling you right now, our class for the students today was all around this. It was all around the thing. And you're just putting that exclamation point on. I know I have students on right now that are probably going, oh my gosh.
Oh shit, was she in the class?
And I know it's serendipity, but you're so right. I mean, this is just so powerful. And the thing is somebody sent me a video yesterday and it was something about, it's only through our brokenness that we can grow. It's only through the things that we experience. If we keep pushing them away and shoving them away, how in the world are we going to learn if we just ignore and we numb and we close off? And part of that is connecting with people and being able to talk about these things that are not perfect about ourselves. It's shining the light on the darkness, right?
And that is what will motivate them, because they will recognize themselves into you.
Yes.
Right? That's my audience, is because I share who I am, that they recognize me, that it is a practitioner, that it is a client. It's through my own vulnerability that I have the most power in influencing people. 100%. Not through my perfection.
100%. God, you're so awesome. Okay, let's look at some questions. We're getting up on the hour. I could talk to you all day.
Yeah, we could do this for a long time.
All day long. All right. So yeah, Patricia says this would be good for those attempting to quit smoking, for sure. Mm-hmm. So are learning and instilling good self-care habits a necessary component for healing from eating issues?
Absolutely. It's the base of it.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you're treating, or not treating in this crowd, but if you're working with anyone that has any kind of eating issue, talking about food is the worst place you can start.
Yeah.
You have to start by the lifestyle, the intention, their relationship with themselves. The last segment is food.
Yeah. Oh gosh, absolutely. All right. Andre said, I missed the beginning. Does she essentially practice cognitive behavioral therapy. If not, what is her protocol called? I think she's probably asking about the somatic training you have. Yeah, I love that too. So you want to explain a little bit about that?
So it's a mix of CBT, it's a mix of mindfulness, and it's a mix of somatic. It's my own stuff. So I studied lightly somatic, I studied lightly CBT, but I'm an expert in mindfulness. So my approach, and what I would say to all of you, is create your own approach, right? Yes. Through your own journey and the people you're trying to help, bring things together. So it's the three together. It's CBT, it's somatic, and it is mindfulness.
Right. And I think it's also individual too. If someone comes to you that doesn't like the woo-woo idea of like somatic or whatever, just stick with some talk therapy. Yeah. But always remember that we are health coaches and we're not therapists and we're not nutritionists and we're not those pieces. So when we see someone needing to dive deeper into those things, we let them know, I'm here to support and inspire you and empower you, but I think we may need to look somewhere else for that deeper support. Don't forget that. So important.
And then, so that's where the whole world, from a business perspective, the whole world of affiliate comes in, right?
Yes.
So look at, if you're a generalist, then look at affiliating with different people like me, like others, who dive into what you don't dive as much into, and send your people to people that you trust.
Absolutely. Collaboration is key. Yeah. Not competition, always collaboration. Okay, yeah, so Natalia is asking, she said, I'm going to ask an uncomfortable question. What about sexual attraction? When your partner loves you always, but wants to have sex with you only when you're a certain weight?
Then you really have to question, to me, you really have to question your relationship. Right? What is his insecurity that are showing up with you being in a certain size body? Is he or she willing to even acknowledge that they have insecurity? And the question is, do they really love you for who you are?
Yes.
And that's part of healing, right? Part of healing, when you say, so often when I work with people, they say it's a life transformation, although that's not what I pitch it as, but it brings all those questions in. Like, what am I doing with this person?
Oh gosh, yeah. Yeah.
Right. So that's the next level of healing, when you think about your job and your relationship and say, you know what, that's not good for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a kind of a form of devaluation in a sense, when someone is accepting of you only when. That's a devaluator right there for sure. They're definitely question when someone doesn't value you 100% all the time. You know,
I would also go in the world of codependency.
Yes.
As to why you're in or she the client in that relationship.
Yeah, I agree. Good answer. Okay. Linda, good question. As always, how do you deal with even the functional world that says a good way to determine diabetes is waist to hip measurement?
Is that what functional medicine in your world teaches to you, Carmen?
It was for it. Well, I haven't heard of that in my functional world. No, I don't look at BMI. I don't look at hip to waist. I don't look at any of that. I mean, I don't hear that in my doctor's office. So maybe Linda could expand on that, but it is true in conventional care.
Yes.
So we know that's true in conventional world. So let's go from a conventional standpoint. They're being told this.
Yeah.
You know, how do you tell them? To me, it's not about this. It's about your blood work. It's about your movement.
So here's an answer. So yesterday I was doing an interview for my podcast with a Health at Every Size expert, and she gave me the best line. So when you get into your doctor's office and you have a knee or a elbow problem or even diabetes, right? And your doctor says you got to lose weight. The answer is, so doctor, what would you say to the 10 person who's coming into your office with a knee problem or diabetes? Because there is. What would you say to that person? Would you say to lose weight? Boom. Is there any need to go further in that discussion with our doctor?
That's awesome.
Because we know there's a ton of diabetic patients that have thinness. They're not obese. So is weight the problem? Then the other thing for you, I would say, go read the book Health at Every Size and look at all the scientific reference, and then convince yourself that weight doesn't equal health. And then you'll be able to have an educated discussion with people.
Yeah, that's great. That's so awesome. I love that. Yeah, she's saying the waist to hip comes directly from Dr. Mark Hyman, the leading head of functional medicine today, in her mind. And he kind of is. I mean, but I don't agree with that.
No.
Okay.
So there, for me, there is still a lot of work to do, even in the functional medicine world of education, with body image, with health at every size. And that's part of the mission that I'm on, is collaborating with Carmen, collaborating with whoever else, because the truth is, if that's what they're putting out to the world, they're not servicing 100% their clientele.
Agree. Yeah, I 100% agree. And, you know, the thing is when I started health coaching, it was about food and movement. And I remember my famous statement, I cringe at it. 80% of what happens to your body is what you put in your mouth. 20% is movement. Yes. And ever since then, now, that was, again, almost a decade ago when I started health coaching. Now I have 7 foundations for health, and it includes trauma, spirituality, fun, safe movement, sleep, all of those things. So just to show you guys, listen, we have to evolve over time and learn from our clients and what they teach us about what's important to helping our clients. I mean, that's how the school was founded, is me learning from people. Oh, it's not just about that or that, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So Kate is saying, I would want to know, she's telling someone else if he's into pornography. She's giving a suggestion, looking at, is he into pornography, which affects a man's ability to reach arousal unless there's perfect bodies. I mean, Kate looking outside the box. I love it. Yeah. I mean, heck yeah. So Linda says, I've had a few clients who've been very successful with a program that determines addictive propensity. And the ones who have that extreme addictive behaviors need to have strict do not cross lines. What is your perspective on this approach to weight loss? I don't know the whole program, so perhaps they dive into loving yourself perspective.
So bright line eating is a great example of that. I don't know if you're familiar with bright line eating. So bright line eating says no forever to white flour food, for an example. That model of, I don't want to use treating, but the model of helping with addiction comes from a conventional knowledge of addiction, which means that the person does not have self-control in front of that matter, right? My way of looking at addiction, perfectionism, is from a place of more health, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, which says the reason why people reach for pain relief is because of the pain. So let's address the pain so they can then engage, if they choose so, with the matter that they were using in a more healthy way.
Right.
You have to understand that food is not like heroin. Like drugs, you can ditch for the rest of your life and say, I'm done. I used to smoke cigarettes. I ditched it. I don't need it to live. I need food.
Yes.
I can't ditch food. So I have no choice but to learn to engage with food in a more wholesome way, in a more healthy way, because I'll die if I say I'm not going to eat food. That's my problem with the world of never again. It's not reality.
Yes, I agree. And I love that you brought that point up too, because, I have had some friends that are heavier, and they're like, I just don't know how to get control because I can't stop eating. I have to eat to live, and everything just seems so difficult, the changes. And I'm not a fan of the elimination diet either, by the way. I'm the backwards elimination girl. I don't believe that we should take everything out and really stress ourselves out good to try and get well. I mean, that's the foundation.
So I would say to your overweight friend, I would say, okay, why do you eat? So that's my whole tagline is, it's not about what, when, and how, it's about why. Yes. So let's sit together, you friend who's struggling with food, and figure out what is your trigger. What happens? Why do you reach for food? And you will find stress and anxiety, lack of sleep, and all that stuff underneath this person.
Oh, I know what it is. I know exactly why she eats, but I don't say a word.
Until she asks, you don't say anything.
Not a thing, but I know exactly, and I've known for a very long time. So, and I think sometimes we have to remember that, people are afraid to go to the dark stuff a lot of times. And sometimes that is the reason that they eat, is so they don't have to look at the other stuff at all. They know it's there. Bingo. And they know why, right? But let's just ignore that and just keep on trucking forward. I know.
And let's keep dieting.
Yeah.
Because that is a quick fix, and that's going to make me feel like I'm working on my stuff.
Yeah.
And I'll just wait till January again.
Yeah.
And then I'll start the next diet, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So right now we have a hashtag going. So follow the hashtag #UnDiet2019. It's all about that.
It's what?
It's all about that. Ditching dieting for 2019.
Ditching dieting for 2019. Yes, absolutely. Here, let me ask you this. This is one of my favorite things that I hear from clients when they say, well, it worked before, so I'm going to do it again. When something works, you don't have to repeat it, right?
Well, ask them, why are you here then? If it worked, why are you here wanting to get help again?
Yes.
It didn't work clearly because you're back here again.
Exactly. The Weight Watchers, the the Advocare, all of these multi-level marketing programs. Well, it worked and I lost 25 pounds.
Yeah.
Okay. So why do you have 40 extra on? What's happened?
Why are you seeking my help? Why are you wanting a diet?
Yeah.
Well, it's because I gained the weight back. And then they'll say, well, it's because I don't have willpower. And then you can engage into the whole discussion about willpower, right?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so Linda, just to bring clarity, she respects Dr. Markheimen's approach very much, of course. Yeah, she's just saying it's just one aspect to look at, and it's more more conventional. Absolutely. Andre says, thank you for mentioning bright line eating. I looked into it, and I couldn't do it, but I questioned myself, or whether or not I was just being rebellious. And I'm glad you brought that out. I mean, okay, so the author of Bright Line Eating has a really crazy, amazing story. She overcame so much prostitution. I mean, you name it. That book is fantastic for someone who to overcame what she did. But I want to bring attention to what Andre just said about being rebellious. We can be so hard on ourselves when we put that statement on ourselves. Am I just being rebellious? Do I just not have the willpower? Am I just not strong enough? That's just defeating yourself all over again, right? The shaming, back to the shaming.
So then I would say to Andre, the antidote to that is compassion.
Yes.
The antidote to that is compassion and saying, why do I have an addictive behavior? So then here's my recommendation. Go read the opposite and then make your mind. The opposite of that is Gabor Mate.
Yes. Oh, I love him so much. Yes.
Right? So The Hungry Ghosts.
Oh my God. In the realm of hungry ghosts.
In the realm. So somebody put that in the chat, in the realm of angry ghosts by Dr. Gabor Mate. That will give you the opposite view. And then from there, make your mind. Yeah.
Yeah. He's fascinating. I binged every video and book he had a couple years ago because he was just so clearly speaking to addiction. I mean, he's fascinating, period. Right? I mean, oh my gosh. Yeah. And he's one of my references. I refer some clients to watch a couple of videos by him. Yeah. Okay. We're going to have to talk again at some point.
Yes, absolutely. Anytime.
Absolutely. Yes. Okay. So, do we have a link for your information? Does my team have a link or,
I gave them the affiliate program. So here's a couple tools for you. So I have a quiz. So I created a 10 question for lay people about assessing their relationship to food. So you can go the affiliate. I don't know how you get your links to people, but get them there. So stephaniedodier.com.
I'll put it in a replay for everybody for sure.
Assess the relationship to food from there. Then second layer is the podcast. So going beyond the food, refer to different episodes based on what you want as a practitioner or refer people to it. And then third, there's the food. So hashtag on diet 2019 is a food freedom challenge that I start on January 1st. And I have a $50 coupon for your community if they want to join us to learn the basic of that. Like the basic, the 4-step process, mindfulness, body, just give you the basic. It's $147 with the $50 coupon. I think it's going to give you the basic that you can then start assessing people differently and either teach them what I taught you or refer them to higher resources.
Right. Yeah. I have a feeling it's not going to be basic though, because you haven't done one basic thing today.
No, it is not basic.
No, there's no basic in people like us, right? That's why we take a week or more to recover when we get back from Mindshare.
Yes.
Right. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay. So you've been amazing. Thank you so much for this. This has just been, we could talk and talk and talk. This has just been a really great interview because you touched on so many things that are, the perfectionism and the not being good enough and digging deep into trauma and all of those things are so important. And so many people aren't talking about that today. Everyone's making the world think that everything's perfect. And one of my goals as the founder of the school is to break down those walls, show people who we are, be authentic so that we can actually connect with people and that we resonate with them and they can see change in themselves as well. So thank you for sharing your story and all your great information. Love you dearly. Thanks everybody for all the interaction and questions, and we'll see you later. Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.